Could Dawnguard, the first major DLC for Skyrim last year, be inspired by a fan-made mod for the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind? I have in fact found many interesting parallels between Dawnguard and a Morrowind mod called The Underground, made by a modder calling himself Qarl with a Q. Let me first say that most works of art or entertainment have several inspirations and origins, and the Dawnguard DLC was obviously built around the new Vampire Lord race, which, according to Todd Howard, was created during the company's Game Jam, where every employee got to spend a week adding whatever they wanted to the game. That Vampire Lord didn't really play like any Morrowind mod I have ever played, though of course I've only played a few % of the over 7,000 mods for Morrowind that are available on Planet Elder Scrolls website, for example. However, whether by coincidence or inspiration, there were many other parallels between these two expansions to the two vanilla games. First off, both expansions are about vampires. And although they start off a little differently, in both cases you soon run into and team up with an attractive female vampire. Or at least if your character is male, you do in both cases. Even the names of these two female vampires are a little similar. The Skyrim one is called Serana, and the Morrowind one is called Cinder Rains. Both also dress kind of vampire goth, though of course Cinder Rains' style is rather scantier than her Skyrim counterparts. Also, in both cases, as you play through the quest chain of each expansion, traveling through different locales added by the expansions, you gradually gain Cinder's trust and Serana's trust until they both become companions that you can start sharing items with, giving instructions to, and everything else that you expect from a player companion. But, in addition, eventually both companions can also turn the player into a vampire. There are some differences that also bear mentioning here. For one, companions were not really featured in vanilla Morrowind, and although the first companion for Morrowind did become available with the Mournhold expansion, the Underground mod improved a lot more on previous content in terms of follower AI, the range of commands you could issue to the companion, and so on. Also, you could romance Cinder, which was a welcome addition to a game where, at least in vanilla form, there was really only one character with a romance questline in the game. Which, incidentally, is probably why, if you play the Underground as a female, then there will be a male vampire called Johnny Rains instead of Cinder Rains. I guess gay rights have made some progress since the time of Morrowind. At any rate, in Skyrim, of course, you could marry lots of people. And yet, for some reason, the developers decided to make Serana unmarriageable. A decision that incidentally caused a lot of grief for many fans. Some of them have even started a campaign to petition Bethesda to make Serana marriageable, but I digress. Similarities between these two characters and the mods don't stop here. In both cases, you also end up more or less actively seeking out a mysterious master vampire who supposedly has some nefarious plan to control the world or whatever, and in both cases, once you meet this character, he turns out to be none other than the father of your companion vampire. This time the characters' names are admittedly more different. Cinder's dad is called Voltar Rains, while Serana's father's name is Hakon. However, the name of Hakon's castle is much more similar. It's called Volkihar Keep. However, in this case, the mod was not the inspiration for the Dawnguard name, because the Volkihar clan of vampires was, I think, mentioned in a book called Immortal Blood, which appeared in vanilla Morrowind. So this similarity could be a coincidence, or maybe Qarl took his cue from that book. From this point on, the questlines in the two expansions do actually diverge quite a lot, and that's partly because the Underground's Voltar Rains is the kind of sensible vampire who thinks the long-term survival and indeed the food supply of vampires relies on them successfully coexisting with mortal society, and he even tries to secure agreements with local magistrates to send convicted felons to the vampires for punishment, so that the vamps don't have to feed on the law-abiding population. So The real bad guys of that mod are to be found elsewhere. Lord Harkon, on the other hand, is more the kind of raving lunatic vampire that would like to blot out the sun, so vampires are free to hunt unimpeded. Okay, so, conclusion, was the Dawnguard DLC inspired by a Morrowind mod? Well, obviously it's very hard to tell. It's been speculated, however, that Qarl himself, we just don't know what happened to him. He was famous for his mods in Morrowind, also famous for his mods in Oblivion, and he has not really been heard from since. You know, all sorts of reasons for this are imaginable. Some people speculate that Qarl could be one of those mod makers who actually got a job with Bethesda. I have no idea whether that speculation bears any kind of resemblance to the real world whatsoever, but it's an interesting thought. I think the plot's turn of meeting your companion's dad does very much ring a bell. We certainly do know that the Bethesda developers do look at mods, and that they have in the past recruited some of their new employees from the ranks of mod makers, so it's conceivable that they at least played the underground mod, and in that case they may have picked up some inspiration for how to use companions in a vampire mod and make it interesting with familial relationships and so on from Qarl's mod. Or of course they may have come up on this completely on their own, or there may be some other external source that both Qarl and Bethesda drew from. There is one last parallel that I probably should cover though, because both packs were plagued by bugs. In Dawnguard, these are annoying things like how Serana's feeding can make the game give the player some vampire attributes, even if you've never actually turned vampire, and some other, you know, minor nuisances like that. The Underground 2, on the other hand, would at one point permanently corrupt my game, forcing me to use an editor to fix the save game, and Qarl actually left the mod in that state. So if you're thinking of trying out the Morrowind mod for yourself, by all means do so, but do yourself a favor and get your hands on a third-party patch that fixes this game-breaking bug, as well as some other minor bugs. I don't really have a better conclusion than that, but if you are the kind of player who, for example, liked Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, you just might enjoy that, the Underground mod, so feel free to give it a try.